Meghan Markle and Prince Harry may not receive the full £18 million from their contract with Spotify after the first episode of the Sussexes podcast was not popular enough to warrant a second episode, a media lawyer has claimed. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex signed an £18 million deal with Spotify in December 2020 but have since only produced just one 35-minute podcast episode. Speaking to the resource about the deal, media lawyer Ian Penman, who specialises in music streaming contracts, claimed that the podcasts are likely to have been less popular than Spotify and the royal couple expected. He said, "It would not be an unfair assumption that perhaps their popularity was not as great as maybe they or indeed Spotify initially felt. I think you could draw a conclusion that if Spotify haven't exercised the option on the next episode of the podcast, then maybe they did not have the popularity that either Meghan and Harry expected or indeed Spotify anticipated." But the media lawyer explained that Spotify is unlikely to have lost out. He said that they are unlikely to have paid the full £18 million upfront and are instead likely to have paid the Duke and Duchess of Sussex a small advance, retaining the right to back out of the contract if the first episode was not popular. He told Express.co.uk, "It's famously the case in music deals, this goes back decades, that when people talk about a large deal, like Robbie Williams signing a deal for £15 million or something, it does not mean he gets £15 million on day one. So the problem you have here, I would imagine, is that when they talk about an £18 million Spotify podcast deal, it probably means that they have signed their first product, in this case a podcast. They then have many, many options for further products. All those options are in Spotify's favor. Make no mistake, they're not in Meghan and Harry's favor. If all those options are exercised, and we don't know how many podcasts that relates to, it may be that the total money spent by Spotify is £18 million. So, have they lost any money today? Probably, not a penny. However, he did claim that somebody may have got a slaptrust as a result of the deal. He said, "Whoever gave them the initial advance and did the contract, it's rather like the A&R man who signed the band that fails. Does that person have egg on their face if they did happen to part with a lot of money as an advance as a recording cost? Someone may get a slaptrust in Spotify if they parted with a lot of cash and actually nobody bothered to listen to it." Explaining how Spotify is likely to review their content, Mr. Penman said, "What would probably happen is Spotify would analyze how many more users signed up, or how many more advertisers paid to be on Spotify as a result of that new podcast coming out, and they'll have their analytics bots crawling all over it. And then they would think, does this justify us getting episode 2 and paying an advance for that? I wouldn't imagine in a month of Sundays that they'd parted with £18 million to Harry and Meghan." In a statement announcing the podcast partnership in December last year, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex said, "What we love about podcasting is that it reminds all of us to take a moment and to really listen, to connect to one another without distraction. With the challenges of 2020, there has never been a more important time to do so, because when we hear each other, and hear each other's stories, we are reminded of how interconnected we all are." In December 2020, the Prince and former Suits star inked a deal for their Archie audio imprint with Spotify. The pair said they wanted to build a community through shared experiences, powerful narratives, and universal values. Reported that the deal was for £18 million, $24 million. But since signing on the dotted line, Meghan and Harry have only produced a 3-minute trailer and a 34-minute Christmas special last year. 30